Let's take a look at how we are going to make a cladogram. Now remember, a cladogram is a hypothesized evolutionary relationships between species. When we go to set up this phylogenetic tree or this cladogram, we are going to start with a data table that has organisms that we want to include and then some traits that we're going to use to help separate them and figure out what organism is going to evolve first and so on and so forth. Now, if we're looking at these four organisms here, I'm just going to start with the amoeba and I'm going to fill out this data table for traits that it's going to have. Now, an amoeba is a single-celled eukaryotic organism, so it is not going to be multicellular. So I'm going to put in a 0 because it does not have this trait. If it did have the trait, I would put a 1. Amoebas also do not have shells, nor do they have paired appendages. Paired appendages mean we are going to have like a left arm and a right arm. Well, they would be paired on either side of the organism. An amoeba doesn't have any of these traits, so its total traits that it shares is 0. The snail, on the other hand, is multicellular. It does have a shell, but it doesn't have any paired appendages, so its total is going to be 2. The turtle, multicellular with a shell and paired appendages, its total is going to be 3. The slug, multicellular, does not have a shell and it does not have paired appendages, so the total is going to be 1. What I'm going to do now with these totals is I'm going to use this information to create my cladogram or my evolutionary relationship between these species. I'm going to start by just drawing a horizontal line and I'm going to put the organisms on here and I'm going to start with the organisms that have the least number of shared traits and then I'm going to work my way up the tree to include the organism with the most shared traits. So I will start with the amoeba because it has the least amount and I'm going to then go in order and I'll put the slug, then the snail, and then the turtle. Once I have these organisms on the timeline, I'm going to include the shared traits that they have and I'm going to show you what this is going to look like here. Let's pull this picture up so we can see it with our data table as well. All right, so if we're trying to view this all in one, here I have my timeline, my horizontal line going up, and I have the amoeba is going to be the first branch off of this phylogenetic tree. It does not share any traits, so none of these traits are going to come before the amoeba. After the amoeba has evolved, we then see that multicellular organisms are going to pop up on our timeline. So I have this trait. Anything that is going to be to the right of this trait, organisms will have. Anything to the left, organisms are not going to have. So we see, yes, the slug is multicellular. It's to the right, and the slug is going to evolve next. We then have the next shared trait, which is the shell. Slugs and amoebas do not have it, but snails and turtles do. After the snail, we see paired appendages are going to evolve, and this is going to go to the turtle. And this is how we're going to set up our cladograms.